Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about what is going on with Tren de Aragua in the city of New York, because they're recruiting younger and younger members. They're getting arrested over and over and over again, and due to a combination of terrible woke criminal justice reforms that were passed in the state of New York, they're getting released onto the streets time and time again. Not to mention the fact that we're also seeing, beyond the escalations of violence from the gang towards average everyday citizens, the potential for a gang war that is just percolating right beneath the surface across the city. And you have NYPD sounding the alarm, but the fact of the matter is our laws are ill-equipped to deal with this, and these people have been admitted to the country and they're basically allowed to commit as many crimes as they want because Joe Biden wanted them to search the border, as he said.
I would in fact make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
And because of that, deportation is completely off the table for these violent criminals. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
And remind you that on Wednesday, October 23rd, I will be live in person in Lower Manhattan debating Joshua Eagle on the idea that libertarians should vote for Kamala Harris over any other candidate in this election. It's going to be an absolutely wonderful event. It's free to attend. Just click the registration link in the top of this description. And please, I hope to see you there if you can make it.
Law enforcement officials are keeping a close eye on gang-related criminal activity all around the city. The NYPD's Detective Bureau is tracking the dangerous Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. It's made up of young migrants, some just 11 years old, and believed to have arrived here in New York during the migrant surge.
Well, police say their crimes are becoming more brazen. The members even posting their weapons on social media. I mean, look at this picture. This is crazy.
So as you can see from this Good Day New York segment, you have gang members that are brazenly posting their criminality, their recruitment on social media right now in the city of New York. And of course, we have gangbangers as young as 11 years old. However, you're going to find out that we're actually going even younger, and there have been armed robberies that have been committed by 8-year-olds who have come to this country through the broken immigration system, through the asylum surge that Joe Biden asked for, that I talked about earlier in this particular video. And it's an absolute disaster, but things are actually significantly worse than you can possibly imagine.
But right now what we have, I like to call a perfect storm of sorts, where we have individuals tremendously brazen, absolutely ruthless, individuals that have committed a multitude of crimes with basically no repercussions. So what started out as a robbery crew, upwards of 50 robberies, 20 individuals arrested for upwards of 50 robberies, and out of those 20 individuals, every single one of them is on the streets today.
So here you have this guy from the NYPD, and he's breaking down one of the problems that the police face when they're confronting this particular gang, especially since they're recruiting people that are just younger than our criminal justice system is willing to hold accountable. So he talks about a robbery crew that initiated 50 known robberies, and known robberies is absolutely crucial because there are additional unknown robberies that weren't reported to the police, and they end up arresting 20 people, but all 20 for 20 are out on the streets today, and there's a reason for that. First and foremost, we have raised the age, which makes holding youthful offenders accountable extraordinarily difficult, even for firearm-related offenses that previously the city of New York would take quite seriously, and that's one of the reasons why, for a very long time, the homicide rate in the city of New York would drop down dramatically. On top of that, you have bail reform, so even if you were going to try to hold them accountable like an adult, the fact of the matter is, holding people accountable like an adult is not really as strong as it should be in the city of New York, in the state of New York, because of that statewide law. On top of that, a lot of these robberies are actually occurring in and around Central Park, in and around Times Square. This is under the jurisdiction of District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and guess what? District Attorney Alvin Bragg doesn't want to prosecute anyone for anything. He wants to downgrade as many felony charges as possible, unless of course you're the evil orange man and it's politically expedient for him, because that's what he does. He's far more interested in going after people like Daniel Penny, who are defending others on the train, than actual criminals committing armed robberies throughout the course of the city of New York. And by the way, it's not like these individuals are just getting arrested the one time and it's a first-time offense, and we let them go, they get into a re-entry program, and then they become scholars in our K-12 education system. They're getting arrested multiple times. In fact, a little devil, a 15-year-old Tren de Aragua member, was just arrested and released without bail, same day automatically because of bail reform, his 10th time, his 10th armed robbery in the city of New York that he was arrested for, and he was released again. Now, I will point out that not only should we not be releasing him back onto the streets under bail reform, under raise the age, or any of these woke criminal justice policies, but he should already be back in Venezuela. He should not be in this country. You can't come to this nation, claim asylum, claim oppression, claim victimhood, then start committing crimes, violent crimes with weapons, and expect to stay in this nation, or at least that's how it should be, but in reality, that isn't how it is, because apparently you can't expect that, because that will be granted to you over and over and over again.
That's crazy. Now, there are reports that they're operating the Roosevelt Hotel, which used to be a very nice hotel in New York City. Now it's a migrant shelter. What are we talking about? What's going on inside this hotel that is now spilling out into the Times Square area?
So she brings up the fact that they're operating out of the Roosevelt Hotel. And yes, it is accurate that this used to be a very nice hotel located on 57th Street near the entrance to Central Park. But this hotel has actually been at the center of a number of controversies related to the migrant crisis, including when the migrants were refusing to leave the hotel because they didn't like the shelters. They thought the hotel was nicer and they felt entitled to that. But even worse than that, if you guys will recall, this is the very same location where a pro-illegal migrant activist demanded that these migrants be granted the apartments on Billionaires Row, some of the most expensive real estate in the entire country, because they came here illegally, therefore they're entitled.
He could have easily, along with Governor Hochul, opened up all the vacant luxury apartments. We are on 57th Street right now. This is Billionaires Row. Half of the super towers on this street are empty.
So let us be clear about what was being advocated for. These gang members, these members of a Venezuelan prison gang who should be deported for this country, the left wing wants them put up in the most luxurious apartments in this country. They're entitled to that. That's how much the left wing thinks of the non-citizen, of the illegal immigrant, before the citizen or before the legal immigrant.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a recruitment process, and this is the first time we've seen structure with Tren de Aragua. Formerly, it was kind of scattered all over the place, but now we're seeing that structure where there's actually kick-ups, where people are recruiting these younger members as young as 11, and they've been described in some of these robbery incidents as young as 8 years old. And when they're arrested, like I said, virtually no repercussions. You know, we know at a minimum they have access to guns. Why? We see the posts on social media. We know they've, at a minimum, committed gunpoint robberies.
So yeah, this guy points out that these people have been arrested over and over again. There have been no consequences for the arrests, even armed robberies like the knife point one we talked about from the New York Post, or armed robberies with firearms, and the fact that they know that these illegal migrants are carrying guns because they're posting about it on social media. But things are about to get significantly worse in what he's describing, because it turns out they're also getting into territorial disputes and calling out publicly other gangs that were already established in the city of New York, like the Latin Kings.
Now think about this. They're also calling out Latin Kings. So put that all together in the middle of Times Square, it's a recipe for potential disaster.
So one of the benefits of New York as compared to other big cities is the fact that gang violence isn't as prolific as it is in other big cities known for their gang culture, like Los Angeles, like Chicago, like New Orleans, or etc., whatever. But one of the ways that you can change that, one of the ways that gang violence can become a much more dramatic problem, is if you decide that you're going to import third world gangs from Venezuela, bring them in here, allow them to commit crimes after crime after crime, and then when they do, you release them back onto the streets. So then they decide that they're going to launch a gang war against already established gangs that already exist in the city of New York. We don't have as big a gang problem as Los Angeles, but we still have a gang problem, and it would be nice if we could just deal with that problem on its own merits rather than, actually importing more problems from third world countries in order to exacerbate the issues we already have. I'm not trying to get caught up in the crossfire with these illegal migrants and their gang activity, but apparently this is what needs to happen in order for us to allow these illegal migrants to enrich our nation. But I'm just a little bit sick of the enrichment. I could be a little poorer if this is what enrichment looks like.
Is this focused on Times Square?
It is in and around Times Square. I mean, the crew's name, Los Diablos de la 42. The 42 stands for 42nd Street. So that's their threshold. That's where they feel comfortable. That's where they post their social media.
By the way, what is it? The Devils of 42nd Street?
The Little Devils of 42nd Street.
So are you talking about two different gangs here?
It's actually a subset of Tren de Aragua, and it's the first one we've seen of that type, and it's the first one that we've seen call out oppositions, and that's our concern.
So yeah, these gangs are operating in and around Times Square, which means that they're disproportionately robbing tourists because average everyday New Yorkers avoid Times Square like the plague. But the thing is, Times Square used to be a really bad part of the city of New York. It used to be the red light district, covered in prostitutes and all sorts of problems. However, under the Giuliani and then the Bloomberg administration, Times Square got really cleaned up and it became a place where you could actually take your family and enjoy your time. And the reason why this was an initiative by both of those administrations is because it's a tourist site and you want to keep your tourist sites nice and neat because guess what? That's where people go when they see your city and that's the impression that they get of your city. Of course, when you combine Bill de Blasio's administration's soft on crime policies, how that accelerated after the Black Lives Matter riots, bail reform, you combine it with less is more and raise the age, it started getting significantly worse. And now you have subsets of Tren de Aragua running the zone, claiming that territory, and gang violence and robberies are the result. If you'll remember, this is the same area where Venezuelan gang members attacked NYPD officers. And again, we're just supposed to accept this like this is normal, when in reality, it wasn't like this just a couple of years ago. So yeah, we definitely got to send these people back 100%, drop them off back in Venezuela, and if Venezuela won't take them, then we drop them off in Colombia and have the Colombian government force them over the border back into their home country.
These young kids are calling out the Latin gangs, right?
Yeah.
These are the Venezuelan gangs.
Yes, we do believe there's a spillover from Venezuela where a homicide did occur. So this could be the continued beef from Venezuela. Tremendously concerning, but that could ignite the fire. We're on top of it, and we'll certainly...
Look, I appreciate the NYPD guys saying they're on top of it, they're looking into it, they're working on it, but the fact of the matter is, what he's talking about should not be discussed in the United States of America. We're going to deal with the spillover effects from gang wars that are going on and being initiated in Venezuela in the city of New York. That's crazy. That's absolute madness. But that's what's being presented to us as a consequence of the open border policies that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden advocated for, but more importantly, implemented when they came into office. That's shameful and disgusting in every possible way. And again, it's not just the city of New York. Obviously, we have the issues in Aurora, Colorado, Chicago, everywhere and anywhere these migrants go to. And by the way, that includes Texas, who had to raid a bunch of apartments that they were trying to take over there. And it's just an absurdity that this is the accepted reality in our nation.
The city council today, there were reports that they're meeting to figure out what to do with these young kids who came to our country illegally, who are unaccompanied by a parent. They say we have like the highest population, one of the highest populations of unaccompanied migrants in this city. Is it easy for these gangs to recruit these kids?
Yeah, so you have the city council in the city of New York wondering what we should do about these unaccompanied minors who came illegally to this country. And the answer is deport them, refer them for deportation, call ICE, have the NYPD coordinate with them to get them the hell out of this country. By the way, this is not only something that we should do for the gang members, this is also something that we need to do for unaccompanied minors as a group, because while the left will tell you it's unbelievably cruel for us to not accept these unaccompanied minors into the United States of America, the fact of the matter is giving them preferential treatment is even more cruel. What we need to do is deport them almost immediately, and the reason why is we need to disincentivize illegals sending their children to the border unaccompanied. It is far more cruel to give unaccompanied minors preferential treatment and then end up dealing dealing with a bunch of these people coming up to the border unaccompanied through that dangerous journey because you're incentivizing it. We need disincentives in order to get the proper results, which is people coming through our legal immigration system and not sending their kids to the border, putting them in the hands of cartels, and then having them join gangs once they get here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the number one reason that individuals join any gang, and that's lack of family structure, right? So if an individual lacks family structure, they're certainly more vulnerable and easy to recruit, easier to join the gang.
Can they put them in foster homes rather than leave them in a shelter?
Yeah, I don't want to put them in foster homes. Try putting them, and here's a crazy idea, in their home country. Send them back. Send them back immediately. This is absolutely disastrous. We don't need to spread the problem and fragment it even more in all the different various foster homes around the city of New York. And by the way, it's not like we have unlimited foster homes. So we're going to foster these illegal migrants, but citizens that are homeless, that don't have families, they're just going to get screwed over. They end up in shelters, that they end up being pushed into the gang life. Look, I'm so tired of doing stories like this on this channel where we have illegal migrants committing crimes in this country and deportation is barely mentioned. Now, of course, the New York Post obviously knows where we need to go in this situation, but the fact of the matter is we're seeing splinter off groups from a dangerous violent gang from Venezuela attacking people in Times Square, and we're talking about diversion programs. We're talking about releasing them without bail. Again, they need to be released without bail in Venezuela, in their home country. They need to not be here. That is the only solution to this. And by the way, it's the only thing that will disincentivize these people from further coming to this country. And the longer you wait, the more you actually let these people entrench in the city, the more deportation becomes ineffective as a way to destroy this gang activity. Because what ends up happening is these people make connections, they start recruiting citizens, and then you have them coordinating internationally, which is why you have to get them out of the country immediately if you want to solve this. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. They happen to be 100% sage and accurate, but I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness in New York City. Till next time.